I think you said you had a second example. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. This one has some similar tenets to the one I just shared, but it wasn't someone directly on my team. It was an executive business leader who had been doing really well, had been with the organization in a very specialized skill set for some time. And we had invested in his development in a variety of ways, including a one-on-one coach, mostly to help him support his executive presence and some of the outward behaviors that would help him move up his presentation skills, his direct communication skills, a few things like that nuanced support would help him. At an executive level, it's more common today to invest in that development of an individual. I don't think we see programs as broad to all employees, which is the premise here, again, being a differentiator from what a lot of people offer to what do we offer. But in this particular case, it was an executive who had some support from a coach, but we hadn't noticed a lot of difference necessarily in his performance. And the coach even said that he was slightly disengaged from the sessions. And so that's when I got involved and was able to chat a little bit more. He and his team, I chatted with him a little bit more about the coaching engagement, what was happening, if he was finding benefit in it. But we were still focused on the demonstrative symptoms in the workplace that the business was trying to solve by helping him with the coach. And ultimately, what I learned in that conversation was what a lot of coaches would understand today too, is that what's actually driving that behavior is something entirely different. They were internal perspectives. It was definitely how he perceived himself as part of the broader leadership team, a little bit of imposter syndrome. There was a few things in there. But on top of that, was a significant issue with a teen at home who was truant from school and maybe not going to make it to college and was creating so many things in his life about his own personal worthiness. As a parent, my child might not graduate from high school. What does this mean? It was taking so much energy. And he didn't feel like he was in a place where he could broach the coaching relationship in such a way to use company resources to deal with his personal issue. But ultimately, his personal issue of how does my child's success or not reflect on me was a very similar core issue to the things that were preventing him from showing up in the leadership team in the same way. It was, how does my team reflect? What sort of defensiveness and protection do I have to have? How forthcoming can I be with issues in my group so that I'm showing up authentically? Some of the core issues were actually this personal development piece was going to drive both personal and professional fulfillment in an entirely different way. But we don't always see that even in the executives where we are investing in this one-on-one coaching, they don't necessarily broach that line to say, I'm going to use the company's resources to invest in myself. It's still not necessarily a fully accepted premise. And with this individual, the outcome was that he was able to work with this coach and had such a great experience that he actually provided some input to our happiness program that we ended up developing and rolling out to all employees. And he was first to sign up his team to we were having some opportunities to make it a more high performing team. And so he was first to sign his team up and really help them. And it was resoundingly well received. And I think really helped position him both within the leadership team as a sponsor, but more importantly for himself to manage things at home a little differently. I think that created a lot of allegiance. And at the time, he was not sure, he'd been there some time, how much career runway he still had with the organization. And he's still there today, years later. I personally believe, partially at least, based on the fact that he really felt like we showed up for him in a way that made a demonstrative impact on his life, not necessarily on his job.